Wheels have to be stoked for Moulin, picks up and goes, slips away to Philly de Pree, and de Pree for the try! And South Africa's captain may have put them into the quarterfinals, semi-finals of the World Cup. Philly de Pree, a classic scrum half try.
Hi guys, welcome to the second episode of the Rugby Digest podcast. With me I have Jacob and Zubair.
Hi, welcome back guys.
And this time Cape Town's not as cold and we're looking good in terms of some summer seasons coming our way. Right, so guys, let's get straight into the nitty gritty of it all. Results from the weekend.
Right, so South Africa got a narrow victory over Argentina. Some would say lucky, I wouldn't. And like Jakub called, New Zealand actually pulled through and destroyed Australia.
Yeah, it was actually too easy. Kind of predicted, given that New Zealand were on a hiding to nothing basically from the fans and the press and everyone around the world.
Understandably so.
Yeah, well, they showed their class and they're putting up their hands as one of the top teams again. But we'll see. A lot of work to be done on both sides, on all of the Southern Hemisphere teams at this stage.
I think a couple of people are riding or resting on their laurels. And what happens when you do that is, number one, you lose for the first time ever. And then you have to come back fighting the next week and you absolute whitewash.
Yeah, literal whitewash. They got a fat zero.
So South Africa, I mean, I think as Zubair said, it was by the skin on our teeth that we came through with the win that we did.
Yeah, it was a close one. South Africa were a bit lucky actually at the end there with a couple of calls going their way. But I think the ref kind of refed it in a certain way where both teams weren't quite sure about the interpretations. Having a Northern Hemisphere ref kind of made it into a scrappy affair and exactly what Argentina wanted basically.
So luck of the draw?
I wouldn't say that, just, mix of new combinations and different law interpretations at the breakdowns and Argentinian just general scrappy games, if they can get it to that.
It was good to see though. I think the fact that we came through in such a tight affair as well. You know, last year we're losing that game.
Definitely. It's a definite plus.
Agreed. If we're going to look at standout players, the back of the weekend?
Well, we've definitely got to mention Sibu, that boy.
Sensational.
It was a sensational double.
Yeah, both of his tries were world class. He reminded me of Naholo.
Absolutely.
Just a big Fijian winger, just powering and tackle busting with some speed. He was unstoppable on the weekend.
His leg work, or his footwork was insane. I mean, the man was bloody dancing on the field.
He really was. I think, one of the tries he got like 4 tackle busts.
Exactly.
Yeah, he had through a few plays. And that dive at the end, I mean, I wouldn't advise it because I think he face planted straight into the grass.
But he took it with a smile on his face.
That was one of the better tries I've seen in a while. Really, he was probably the only one who proper put up his hand this weekend. I don't think it was a great performance all around by the Bucks, to be honest.
I mean, it was also just a mix and match team.
Very much so.
With a lot of debutants. I don't know.
I was the only debutant, but there were lots of new combinations.
Yeah, there were guys out to try and get their name on the team sheet for the World Cup, and it really was an audition more than it was.
Yeah, there were some guys who were also in the team who knew they were never going to go. So if you take in your Skydas, your Dylan Lates, there were a few players who probably knew Estes and
but I mean,
and there were others who were really playing for positions.
Yeah.
So we'll probably get to that near the end of the
that being said, it was really nice to actually see some of the guys who maybe wouldn't have had a chance to have the Springbok jersey on actually getting a chance out there.
Also too.
I mean, I was quite proud to see Dylan Lates out there. I do think he's way too skinny. But you know what? Like he
didn't have the worst game, but he didn't have the best game either.
But also,
didn't get ball.
It's once again combinations, and exactly, if he's not getting ball, how's he going to play?
Yeah, he made one little mini break along the sideline in the first half, I think, but I think he had about 3 or 4 touches in the entire game on attack. So very hard for those players. Skyra included.
It is very hard, but it's also the rest of the team doesn't know what to expect from them either. I think that's also why it got out to Cebu more than to Let.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just goes your way as a winger, especially if the player's going that way. So
Other players you thought that were good on the weekend? Jesse Creel?
Jesse Creel had a solid game. I thought
Jesse Creel and Skulk. Skulk bit.
Skulk.
Yeah, he had a solid game. I thought he was efficient and his leadership in those tight situations did pull through. Yeah, once he left the field in those last few minutes, it was a bit out of
it was a bit shaky.
But we came through with a win, and I'm sure he'll be happy 100% as a Bok captain.
Yeah.
He'll probably retire that way as well, unless he gets a game at the World Cup, and maybe they'll give him another
But it was
captaincy.
also, and I know I'm picking up on the captain side of things because I don't know if the guys felt it was quite confusing, but looking at it with Khaleesi back, and Khaleesi is our captain, but now you've got Skulk as captain. I can't imagine the dynamics on field were easy to manage. Like, who
I think
are
it
we
would have been
listening to?
fine.
I mean,
I
it
really don't
it
think
came
so.
off in the end.
The way
but-
Rassie has kind of positioned the squad, like we mentioned a few weeks ago when we were saying that in our starting lineup, the whole pack were all captains of their respective franchises at one
Absolutely.
stage. I don't think that there's one central point
Figure,
of
yeah.
leadership, So
I also think we have a clear game plan going into the games now where the players know what to do in certain situations.
So regardless of who's leading, we're just going to stick to strategy here.
Yes.
exactly.
Game plan.
And I mean, the plan was, he came out afterwards and said that they were only going to play him for like 30 minutes. And then, unluckily, Marcel Coetzee got injured
Yeah,
in the
that was
first 15.
bleak.
But the same thing as
And
Khaleesi was
he
like,
had to
keep
play.
me on.
Yeah,
Like,
he
I'm
was.
happy. I'm
He
happy to
wanted
stay
to
on.
play as long as possible. So
So we know that he's back
yeah,
to full
he
fitness.
was. It wasn't the most polished performance, but the whole Bok performance as a whole
Yeah.
wasn't great.
Mm.
I also think that the only reason they were saying that about Khaleesi was he's obviously lacking match sharpness.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I didn't want to put
Fitness.
any pressure on him coming in. I didn't mind the decision, to be honest.
So doom and gloom. Marcel Coetzee.
Yeah, heartbreak hotel.
I was bleak.
I know.
No, you were
Plus,
talking him up as well. So
oh,
keen.
dude. In that first 15 minutes, he actually was so lively. He made a steal even. I was like, Marcel, you are back, baby. He's just such a beast over the ball. And yeah, just unfortunate day. These things happen. He actually went off with a head knock, but then later found out it was an injury, and now he has 12 weeks out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
from the
that
World Cup.
rules him out entirely for the World Cup. Gone.
Yeah, that's just...
Is what it is.
Yeah, well, he's had the worst
Um,
run with injuries.
Another player that I'm not terribly impressed with, and even less impressed with his facial hair, Kobus Reinach.
It was just that until that intercept, basically. I thought he looked fine.
I'm not,
What?
I wasn't,
I wasn't
would
unhappy
that be
with
the
his kicking.
moustache and that weird little facial hair thing he's
I
got
thought
going
he
on?
kicked so much. It was, yeah, maybe the game just dictated it, but he kicked a lot. And when we made turnovers, we kicked a lot of ball. I didn't think he had the best game. When I watched it initially, I thought if there were any doubts about Rassie taking 3 scrum after the World Cup, that performance would have pushed him out because he was poor. 2 errors kind of led to both tries for them.
Yes.
Yeah, and his kicking wasn't great. It just wasn't a good all-round performance from him. And Warwick Galant, also a bit shaky. There was one charge down
Yeah.
kick where they knocked it on. I was like, oh.
I think you
Under no pressure as well. He like waited for the guy to run at him and then,
Yeah, he did. But
He-
also, he didn't seem comfortable.
yeah.
But I like him as well. But I think he was feeling the pressure. I mean, he is one of those guys on the fringe. He might
Yeah,
not go, he
that's
might
also
go.
true. That is true, but
Well, they're not-
I really thought both of them, they could have played themselves out, but Rassie has kind of now come out and said that he's going to take 3 scrum off, so Reinach is definitely going.
yeah.
Where the Galant goes that's a whole other
I mean, we'll discuss that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you guys think about Argentina? I thought their scrum looked a lot better.
Yo, we talked them down so badly last
We
week.
absolutely
I
destroyed
you
them.
did.
They actually even got a penalty out of us. I think it was Thomas the Toy. Maybe a couple of penalties which we lost, and I was not expecting that. Not that they were putting pressure on us at any point. Just I expected more from our scrum.
I mean, it was also our third choice front row.
Yes, but still, these guys had to put up their hands.
Yeah, but I mean,
Vincent
saying that
Koch.
third choice front row does not mean like C team front row. I mean, they were still A grade.
Yeah, but also,
Yeah.
we're saying the combinations. So Thomas de Toy isn't really known as a dominant scrummager. Vincent Koch, I was expecting a bit more, although his
Yeah.
all-round game kind of makes up for if he's not completely dominant in the scrum because he's involved on attacks
He didn't go
as
forward.
well. Yeah, all the time. He's a dangerous player in a tight game. He'll get go forward.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, if we're looking at this from a where to next, not our greatest performance. I think guys are still finding their feet. Combinations are still trying to figure themselves out, and very much under Russie's guidance. But to be fair, 2019 versus 2018, 2018 Springboks, yeah, we would have lost this.
Yeah, we would have. That was one of those scrappy games where we thought it would happen last week the week before in Argentina, where we actually destroyed
Yeah.
them. We thought it would be one of those scrappy games where they'll be in it by a score. And I think obviously the new combinations, a lot of new players kind of played into the Argentinians, and Materia was good.
Oh,
Let's talk about
that
some
try
Argentinian
was
players.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Yeah,
Give the
I mean,
guys
he's
a-
always good. He's probably the best open sider in the world at the moment.
Agreed.
And then
Guido Petty?
Guido
Absolute
Petty
beast.
called it as well.
Yeah.
The guy's a monster, and yeah, he's one of the few world-class locks going around the Southern Hemisphere at the moment.
Made all the difference in that scrum, I'd say, as well.
As well, yes, for sure. For sure, yeah.
I mean, they didn't change up much other than that, basically. So,
Yeah. It worked.
So, Australia, New Zealand. I think we gave a very honest review last week, and we talked about the All Black decline. Is this the eventual like crumbling of the ivory tower?
I mean, are they as
And-
good as we think they are?
Well, I mean,
It's still
listen. If you're looking
it's
at
up in
the
the air.
last weekend score, I mean, New Zealand has lost nothing.
On face value,
On
I
face
watched
value,
the,
I'm so
watching
sorry.
the game.
Well, 36-0. I mean, at face value, is what
Agreed. You can't disagree with the 36 to
I mean, it's
0.
2-0,
But
yeah.
again, I actually wasn't as impressed by them as the scoreline suggests.
I think Australia made so many errors as well compared
Yes.
to the game.
They had
the week
24
before.
turnovers in the game against New Zealand. Are you joking? You can't give away any
I
turnovers.
know,
Like
in such a big
anything
game
over
as well.
10 to 15 and you're probably losing. But to go over 20,
I think it was
there's
the
no
pressure.
ways. The conditions weren't helping. The weather wasn't great, so the rain kind of also didn't dictate it. New Zealand just
Took their chances.
Yes, and weathered the storm pretty much.
Yeah,
in essence.
Australia had chances though. They definitely had
In
chances.
the first
in the
20
game.
minutes, it was tight. Leo Leofano kicks 2 penalties, and the game is really tight
Well,
after
they're
20
on the scoreboard.
minutes. Yeah, exactly. He missed those 2. Curtly Beale had an absolute shocker. He
I mean,
had
Nick White.
Nick
as well.
White from hero to 0.
0. Shame, guys.
Yeah, I know. It wasn't good from Australia. But if I looked at the stats, and I read something today where Australia averaged something like over 5 tries against New Zealand since the
What?
last World Cup,
It's ridiculous.
which is per game, which is ridiculous. So we should have been, which I called it, but
Yeah, you called it.
last week was an aberration of sorts, and the red guard played a lot more into the hands of Australia than
And even then, New Zealand still scored 3 tries. So.
4 tries, I think. They scored 4 tries last week. So
Mm.
if I looked at New Zealand, wasn't too impressed because they lost a couple of lineouts.
Agreed.
they also had some uncharacteristic handling errors. A lot of their tries, as we've discussed, was not through great phase play, or 3 of their tries came with turnovers. I think there were a
Opportunistic.
couple that were scored from kicks.
Yeah.
The one where
not
George,
convincing,
where
basically.
George Bridge just sliced
yes.
through Salakai Alato, who is the slowest number 6 in the world.
He
I
is
can't believe
one
he
of
plays.
the worst.
I can't believe he plays
open-sided.
international rugby.
So Bowden Barrett, Moanga, how are we feeling about that?
I'm still not
Axles.
convinced.
It worked, like we said. Their forwards had to front, which they did. They dominated. They forced Australia into errors, and it played directly into their hands.
I still think Bowden at number 10. Yeah? I don't
We'll see.
understand.
They dropping, what do you say, Ben Smith, Rico, and Owen Franks last weekend.
Yeah.
That change was also a massive one.
Huge.
Taking Owen Franks out, getting Nepola Lala in. Their scrum was dominant, and it probably won them the game, especially in those conditions.
Yeah.
You need your
Dude,
scrum.
they
going
scrum. They
for-
won scrums with 7 men in the scrum.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing.
One
Actually.
thing I'm going to say is Joe Moody definitely scrums in on the angle all the time.
Yo,
and how he
dude.
gets away with it, that scrum, like
Yeah,
the
we
one with the
watched, dude, there were
7,
like 3 scrums in a row where he did
7
it.
on 8. Like, how are you dominating? Especially the Australian scrum is quite a solid scrum. I'm confused. Jakob Paper for me is, he is dodgy at best at scrum.
But
Interpretation.
generally, even often when he's refereeing the New Zealand games, though, is it just me? Like, oh,
I'm just
I don't know what it is, but his interpretation of the scrums is a big factor, because he's one of the refs that gives penalties if the scrum goes down.
But
he gives a
immediately.
lot of penalties. So whereas other refs will allow the game to flow once the ball's at the back, he will give a penalty. And those any movement from one team where he perceives them to be dominant, it's just penalty after penalty.
Yeah.
It's kind of annoying. But
I mean, we'll
okay,
see.
yeah.
They're
New
going to have
Zealand,
to.
they did step up. Their forwards did step
Definitely.
up.
well, thank goodness for that, because shame now their national pride can be restored.
Yeah, they're feeling happy.
Yeah, because
And I'm not unhappy about it. Like, I really think that they should be happy about it.
Well,
Because I'm not scared of them like they used to scare me. I don't think the box will fall off the way Australia fell off of tackles and the defensive
Not even
structure
close.
and everything. So those, just
what
minimize the
what-
errors.
But what it has shown us quite nicely is actually, instead of going in, the lesser men against the demigods, we actually are more equal footing now. There is room for us to take on, in a fair setup, New Zealand head to head.
Yes, and I'd expect us to win.
Okay,
More-
hold
okay,
back on the
yeah.
expectations.
Okay, I'm going to say, put it out there, but over the next decade, the Springboks will win more games than lose against New Zealand.
That's a
I'm
massive
calling it
call.
now. I think that
Okay, so then
the
we're
player
gonna-
drain out of New Zealand that's going to happen next
So
year.
we're
We
just
saw
gonna,
it
we're gonna
slightly
call
this
this we're
year.
gonna call this the slow decline.
It might happen a lot quicker than we think, because you could see it in the Super Rugby this year with their teams. They weren't as dominant.
Other than the Crusaders, which
Other than
they
the
basically
Crusaders
the
and the-
entire
and the
team
Hurricanes.
consists of.
And the Hurricanes. But I mean, for them to not, usually they have 4 teams in. I think they might have had 4 teams in again. Yeah.
Yeah.
they
They
did.
did have
They
4,
did.
but snuck in at the end. It wasn't as convincing as in previous years. And those teams are also going to lose more players after the World Cup,
Yeah.
because they have the rule where they can't choose players from outside of New Zealand. It's definitely going to have an effect on All Black rugby. We'll see it over the next decade. It hit Springbok rugby 10 years ago, whereas New Zealand are only really feeling the effects now.
So to bring it back to the imminent future, where does this leave Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, and South Africa going into the World Cup?
I think for us, I mean, we're definitely on the up. Winning such a tight game as well, especially a game that we would have lost. I think that was the main positive from this week, and just keeping the momentum going. In terms of Argentina, I think they can be, they as always, they've been hit or miss, especially in these these test matches, but them at the World Cup, they're a whole different beast.
Yeah, like Australia as well. At the moment, they are looking down. Everybody's down in Australia. This is the usual. This is what happens every year, every second year, where they beat New Zealand in the first one and then they go and get hammered in New Zealand.
Yes. Definitely not.
And
the
then
first
everybody's just boo, bad Australia again. Check her out, the usual calls. But at the World Cup, they are a different beast. They do have the makings of a team that will be competitive. I think that they can
Definitely.
beat
Against
any
anyone.
team on their day, which we know. They really have to front up. I can't see them beating Australia or New Zealand, but you never know. They've got enough players. The one thing we didn't touch on with Australia is Falau,
Massive
Yes.
loss.
because we saw it on the weekend. New Zealand bombed them, and Kurtley Beale had a shocker. He dropped about the
Yeah.
three.
Yeah, but
If that's
high
Falau,
balls.
he potentially
If that's Falau, he
scores.
takes all of those balls.
Yeah, but let's be
He
clear.
And potentially
without a
makes
doubt,
a
he
try
takes
for
all
an
of those
opportunity.
balls.
It's
Okay.
not Falau. And
He had such a great game the
and-
week before. We talked him up, and
yeah, agreed.
Conditions,
He's no
though.
But Falau is Falau. There
New
is-
Zealand, yes.
there
In the air, there
isn't
isn't a
anyone
better
else.
player we've
Exactly.
ever seen play rugby union than Israel Folau. And it showed last week. As much as Australia think that they're over him and they've got the backup,
They don't
he is a
allow him.
world-class player. And not having him there...
Best fullback in the world for me. I take
potentially.
him all day over.
Yes, and not
basically
having
any
him at
other
the World
fullback.
Cup is a massive factor. So,
Especially considering it's still pretty recent that
And-
the whole
Yeah.
thing went
And I
down.
think for a while
they
Australia
don't know.
has in some ways put their eggs in his basket, and he's always come in to save the day, and he's been that
Yes.
standout. I mean, he's been absolutely
He can
magnificent.
produce a moment of magic
And-
out of nothing.
They didn't initially miss him, but as you say, when that magic is needed,
He did it.
do they have a magic man?
They're definitely going to need
Do
it
they
at the
have a
World
magic
Cup.
man?
Do they have a magic man?
I don't think as consistent and as error-free as him. Like Kurtley Beale can do a similar job on attack and create something out of nothing, but
Not
He's-
as consistently.
not as
and-
consistently. Like there will be times when he will have a shocker like he did
But
on
it's
the
also
weekend.
the physicality and just
Yeah,
consistency.
the aerial ability.
I don't even want to say it,
New
but
Zealand
he was,
bombed them,
he was
37
the
kicks to
epitome
24.
of perfect. For a rugby player, I wouldn't be upset if the man was
he
my
was
son.
an athlete.
Physically.
He was
No,
an athlete.
Really.
So yeah, New Zealand kicked 37 times to Australia's 24 in that game. Who would have thought New Zealand would have kicked more? But this is the new trend we're seeing in World Rugby, where the team kicking more is winning the games.
Exactly, dominating.
Some interesting stuff.
So if we're going to look at South Africa going into the World Cup, I think there are a couple of guys that are definitely biting the nails down to the quick at the moment. We've almost got a confirmed World Cup squad.
Yeah.
With final squad announcement on Monday. Currently sitting at a 32-man squad, and unfortunately, some unlucky oak is going to be dropped from the squad.
Yeah, so Rassi has made it clear now he released, initially at the start of the week, he was going to go in with a 36-man squad to the training camp in Bloem. But he released 4 players, Thomas de Toy, Andre Estes, and Skaya and Dylan Lates. Or was it Volko Low?
Marcel
Volker,
Coetzee.
as
Volker
well,
Low.
Low as well. But then we
Marcel
also
Coetzee
see an
as
injury.
well with the
Well,
injury.
No choice there.
So now we're down to one position.
Yeah, and apparently the
Good.
talks are it's going to be Wargaland or
Yeah, who knows?
Ulster.
it is-
Ulster
Quagga,
or
maybe?
Quagga. I
Yeah.
definitely don't think it'll be Quagga.
I'm not sure. I have a feeling it's gonna be Ulster who's gonna get
I
that
think
spot.
so. Do you think so?
Yeah, so one out of those 3 is gonna be out basically, and I think that it's gonna be Quagga, only because
The
Yeah.
physicality.
not that he plays in a position. He plays open side. We already have Khaleesi. And we have Francois Lowe who can cover open side and 8th man. So Quagga's versatility is between 7 and 8.
And the physicality, dude, at the World Cup, the games are going to be a lot tighter, you know?
I'm not sure. I think in those games against your lower rank,
Yeah,
he
of
would tear
course.
it up. So
Definitely.
he is a valuable, but if an injury happens to, say, a Peter Steff, they would want a like for like as opposed
matchup.
to
The
going
second-rate
yeah,
B team.
not necessarily.
Well,
Francois Lowe would probably be the first choice backup. He'll be on our bench in every big game. Will be Khaleesi, Peter Steph, and Dwayne.
Yeah.
But yeah, so will they have 3 open siders in the squad? That's the question. Even though Kwagga has played well, I think Ulster personally.
I think he's played well as well. I think Ulster as well, but Woikeland also looked super shaky on the weekend. Maybe he was having some.
Does he
some
want to
doubt.
go with the 18-13 or the
17.
17-14 split backs and forwards? That's the real question.
But if we look at the rest of the squad selection, I'm feeling pretty confident. So we bringing
picks
in
itself.
the squad picks itself. I mean, we got hookers, marks, Bungie, and Skulk Brits. So
Solid.
they're on their way to
Solid.
Japan.
Yeah.
Buy the kimonos, get your chopsticks ready. They're on their way. But then you're looking at your special scrum halves. So your Cheslin Colby has been mentioned.
No, we're going with 3. That is
okay.
confirmed. So
But that's
Faf, Reinach,
And
and
Yankees.
Yankees are going for sure. And he's cleared up. We're definitely taking 4 locks, which was never in
Definitely,
doubt for me
yeah.
because we've got the best, most stacked lock
Agreed.
pairings going it out.
But which 4 means that someone is not going to be there. Talksar could not be
No,
selected.
I'm sure they're going with 4 locks, so he's going. It's more going to be whether he wants to have the extra back or
Yeah.
whether he wants to go with the extra forward. Because Woikeland, the 15 position is probably the shakiest also in our whole squad, as we
Definitely.
discussed
I
last
think,
week.
and also
with
we
Philly.
have Francois Steyn who could cover there.
Who would probably
He would
as well.
rip it
He's
up.
in a World Cup. You could play him anywhere along
World
the
Cup
back line.
winner.
You could play him anywhere along the back line. When he made his debut at 19, he played on the wing and he scored against Ireland. So I have no doubts that he can perform a job in any position in the back line outside
Yeah.
of scrum-off. And yeah,
So
so
maybe
I'm
that's
not
what
really
Russ
worried.
is looking
The
at as
squad-
well.
Yeah, the squad kind of picks itself at this stage. He's made it abundantly clear. It's just with the Ulster.
So no, well,
Also,
there's
what I
that-
didn't mention it with
we
with
didn't mention.
Ulster.
Well, it's not Ulster. I'm more on the point of potential of Malherbe from a prop point of view. I mean, kid season.
The props, it also looks like that's,
Yeah,
Feast is
that's
in.
pretty
We
much
know what our
sorted. Yeah,
starting.
he's already taken. He wouldn't have let Thomas de Toy go if Anvil go go
Yeah,
if
He
they
was
were going to be in the squad. So I don't think we need to worry. He's taking the props that are currently in the squad.
definitely.
But back to Ulster, on the weekend, we've always known he's been a bit of a hardhead, and on the weekend there were some moments where he was cleaning out rucks. Yes, he did a lot of dirty work, but there was a lot of dodgy
Yeah, they
work
were.
at the breakdown there, which another ref could have called, and that's a potential yellow or red card in a big game.
And in a
So
World
it
Cup,
worries
it's
me.
gonna be.
Yes, like
You can't have
he's a
players
walking
like that.
yellow and red card just because.
He's not.
He
He doesn't
plays
bring that
on that
physical
edge.
aspect like RG does, for instance.
Yes,
Which
where
is
it's
just physically dominant.
Well,
Like,
it's within the game. Well,
But
he
you've
does
got
bring
to
the
be within the
physicality,
game.
but
Because if selecting him means that we're going to get constantly blown up because of him, then he's actually a liability more than he is an asset.
for me, he is. He has always been since the days when he was playing at the Stormers.
it's just the way he's always played, though.
It is, and maybe that's what Darcy wants. Maybe he wants those hard edge players. He's not going to start in any of the big games here, nor is he going to be on the bench if he is selected. So
Yeah.
he'll probably get a game against some of the lower ranked teams in our group.
So does this mean Monday's announcement we're feeling comfortable?
Yeah,
Because at this stage
yeah.
it's not
Well,
back
at
on.
this stage-
Ulster or Galant.
Yeah, I would think.
Kwagga.
Or Kwagga.
Do you think Kwagga? It's going to be Kwagga.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Kwagga, but that's just my thoughts.
I
Because I
almost-
can't see
I
us
almost
taking
wanna-
3.
Like we
doesn't
might
make
not have
sense.
predictions coming in, particularly this
Yeah.
particular podcast, but I'm always going predictions, guys. Anyone?
So my prediction would be Kwagga to miss out, unfortunately, only because there are already 2 open siders, and both Francois Lowe can cover 8 as well, which
Yeah.
Kwagga does.
I think you make a compelling argument. I'm going to agree with you on that
Yeah.
one. I'm going to go Kwagga as well. But otherwise, Ulster for me. I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised. to see-
personally, like I said, I wouldn't mind seeing Kwagga there because he does add a different dynamic to the
Yeah, I
team.
agree.
Also in the more open games,
Yes,
you'll
he-
add more.
He can
on
produce
attack.
something. He'll score a double against anyone, potentially. Any of the low-ranked teams. He's definitely going to be in my fantasy team if he goes.
To be honest, I am not going to make a call on this because I think that if someone is even an option for a cap, they should prove themselves, and that I'm not going to wish any bad harm on anyone. Like, unfortunately, this is just one of those situations.
We're not wishing any harm on them.
It's
We're
just-
these are our thoughts.
Yeah.
I just don't want to be a fatalist for any of them.
Look,
Other results in from the weekend. This is quick. It's really juicy. Okay, so we've obviously been like some Southern Hemisphere focused. There are a couple of shuffles happening. Wales go to world number 1. And this is breaking New Zealand's 509-week record. And for those of you that are not wanting to calculate that, that is 9 years
Yeah,
that New
almost
Zealand,
10 years.
almost 10 years that
Almost
New
10
Zealand have been at the top. And that's looking at Wales beating England 13-6.
13-6, another really boring game. I
yo,
think.
that was
I can't,
one of the worst
I don't
painful.
watches.
understand how people
Come out
watch
in mass
Northern
to
Hemisphere.
watch that.
Well, I can tell you,
It's
like
so
my those
bad,
are
man.
like
Weather
Welsh
section
That
countrymen.
game
was
was not great to watch.
Well,
We
One
watched-
try, it was a little bit of quick thinking from
it was
Dan
stodgy.
Bigger.
It was stodgy.
Yeah, it was borderline, but they got it. George North scores in the corner, and Wales win 13-6 in another dour Northern Hemisphere game.
Another game worth mentioning. Italy, Russia. I feel like it shouldn't even be mentioned. I mean,
In
like,
the build-up to the World
World
Cup, we
Cup,
might as well
we'll
mention
mention
it. 85-15, Italy trounced Russia. Doesn't really say much about either team because Italy have sucked so bad. And then Russia
They've
played
beaten
Japan
us
in that
recently.
first game. I think Japan.
hey, listen, there was a time that
first
we
game of the
there
World
was a
Cup.
time
It's
we
officially a
played
month away
Japan.
as well. A
It
month
is.
to the day.
It is.
So we can count down. So the first game is going to be Japan versus Russia,
Yep, opening.
and
Not rigged.
I
at
can
all.
see Japan destroying them by 50 points on this basis if Italy
Definitely.
keep putting 85 past them. Then the final result, France 32.
Scotland
3.
That was an interesting
Yes,
one.
it was very interesting because France have not been great and Scotland.
But
have
you
actually
know
been
the
great, yeah.
French going into the World Cup always.
It's
Getting
hard to
psyched.
say as well because
They're always dark horses.
all the teams are still experimenting as well. So Scotland didn't necessarily play their first team. So going to France, it was a tough ask. But this weekend, they're having the reverse fixture. So Scotland are at home to France,
Yes.
and
I
they'll
think that will
probably
be
play
more of
closer
a-
to their World Cup
Yeah.
starting
We'll be
lineup.
able to tell a lot
And then
more.
we'll be able to tell. Then another fixture, the big fixture from the weekend is Ireland versus England,
Okay, so
where
this could have a couple of shifts if we look at this ranking as of next week.
So
Because
apparently
not that the
Ireland can go
rankings
top.
mean anything. It's
I know
an
they
absolute
mean
joke.
nothing, but I mean they're worth noting because the current
They
world
are.
rankings: Wales,
Wales
pole
number
position,
one.
followed by New Zealand, then Ireland, then South Africa, then England.
Yeah.
So
So the England-Ireland game will have a big effect on.
So
Of
Ireland
course.
win, they go top.
Yes, any margin of victory, and they become the new world number one.
yeah,
And
because
then-
I mean Wales are in there by a fraction.
Should England win, they will go.
They'll-
They'll go above
Above
South
South
Africa
Africa, they'll
into
put us.
fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be interesting because they're playing two matches, so they're having a reverse fixture the following weekend. It will be interesting to see how the team shape up going into this game because I don't think either team will want to win or lose or give away too much. So yeah, I'm not reading much into these games. They're basically friendlies at this stage, just
They
warm
are.
ups, keeping players fresh and fit because in the Northern Hemisphere they've been on their off season.
Yeah,
so it's.
Well, I mean, once the squads are also announced, we'll know a lot
Exactly. I think we're gonna feel a
Yeah,
lot more
some
confident.
squads have been announced. So Argentina have announced it.
Yes.
Also, shock Argentina. They've left out Cordero
I know.
and Issa and Herrera
Oh,
all out of the
Issa.
squad. Yeah, shocking.
That
Tell me about
was-
it. He's one of the
Jeez.
better number 8s going around World Rugby. Didn't see that one coming. And then they chose Urdupaleta over Bonilla, which is also a bit of a surprise because he's been playing well for the Hawaiians all year. So, yeah,
I mean,
Argentina
the
have
coach is
announced
obviously
theirs.
seeing something.
There are a few squads out there, which we'll touch on in future episodes as we build up to the World
Exactly.
Cup.
I
But
think
for now,
for me,
yeah.
my number one priority following this is obviously Springbok final squad selection.
Yes,
I-
Monday.
Monday.
Next week, Monday.
So ideally,
we can
we,
do
we
a
can unpack on that.
post squad
Yeah.
announcement. We can do a
Absolutely.
pod, and we'll get the announcement out to you as soon as it's announced next week.
But generally speaking, I am sleeping really well these days.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, it's great to be a Springbok fan.
At the moment, yeah, this year has been good for 4 matches, 3 wins and a draw.
And building once again the
Building
confidence,
solidly.
the state of the nation. We have it's restored our faith.
Yes,
Just
and
all our
1
faith.
month away.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He can't come soon enough.
So countdown pretty much starting now, and now we
Yeah.
are out with
Cheers,
our
guys.
second
We'll see you
podcast.
next
Cheers,
week.
guys. Yeah.
Cheers.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.